When you came here, Jeff Ulbrich told us you two had a conversation. You didn't care how many touches you got, you just wanted to win. How does your first win as a Jet feel?
Well, I only got one other win this year, so it feels good. It feels good. We've been waiting on this. You know, everybody was expecting it to come out and look like a storybook, but at the end of the day, I came here to try to affect the culture, you know, work with guys like this and just come out and have fun, and we did that today.
Davante Adams, culture vulture. And holy shin, the New York Jets, powered by a unbelievable touchdown catch by Garrett Wilson in the fourth quarter, and then a put-away touchdown catch from Davante Adams, the third touchdown pass of the second half by Aaron Rodgers. And it is the New York Jets with a 21-13 win over the Houston Texans at MetLife Stadium on Halloween night, a win that keeps the Jets with a pulse in the AFC wild card race. Maybe Connor Orr deserves some kudos for that after our Stick a Fork in Him segment. In fact, he wasn't the only one that didn't fork the Jets, if I recall. Who else didn't fork? Justin, right?
Yeah, I think Justin also was a non-forker.
He held the fork out, so... Yes, Justin?
No, I was just coming in to nod and say, yes, that's correct.
You're just using your drop now as like a celebration. That's cool. So
I figure if I'm going to put myself on the screen visually, there should be like an audio element that reflects
Justin
it
is always like, it's like how quickly, there is a personal clock inside of Justin's mind. How quickly can I insert myself into the show? That might have been your quickest insertion.
It's not, Mark, it's not like totally dissimilar to the great quarterbacks that just have that internal clock in their head when they know they either got to get the ball out or flee the pocket.
Quick
Justin
release.
knows. Justin knows. But
Justin has been an asset to us, man.
There's a nakedness to Justin that makes him important to us. But anyway, the Jets are 3-6, so the Jets still have a lot of problems. And I'm not gonna. You're not gonna be able to like destroy me after this podcast because look at Dan's all pie in the sky now. I'm not there. I'm far from there. I watched the first half too. I watched the whole game. But it's a nice win, and for the Texans, there's some really hard questions about that team that need to be asked about a team that entered the season with Super Bowl aspirations. Dan Hanzus here with Marc Sessler and the Gravedigger. Heat in that call. Thursday Night Football is in the books. And Mark, I am the rare Yankee Jet fan, and the Yankees had a absolutely staggeringly heartbreaking loss on Wednesday night that ended their season and allowed the Dodgers to win the World Series. And congratulations to all the Dodgers fans out there. You guys really earned this one.
That's big of you. I don't say that lightly. That is...
No, but they were the better team. But it didn't make that loss any less painful because it was an all-time kind of gag job how they let it get away. And it was not lost on me that the next night it's the Jets playing in primetime against a team that, I think most people thought was going to take care of them. And the Jets got a win. And it was like, you know what? For once, thanks, Jets. Like, I really needed that as a fan. And the other part of it is, Mark, I've there's been a conscious uncoupling between me and the Jets these last few weeks, and there was something about knowing how down bad the Jets have been these past 5 weeks during this losing streak, and then I saw those fans at the Meadowlands, cheering their heart out for that team, and it kind of snapped me back into the reality of the situation.
Are you back? Are you back into the?
You know what it is, Mark? It's like I can't run from it. Like the reason why I didn't sleep, like I woke up this morning in New Jersey, and I was on a plane. Like the reason why I didn't sleep last night, like I had a 6 a.m. flight, which meant I had to leave New Jersey, the Jersey Shore, around 3:30 in the morning, and I tried to put myself to bed after the game, and I just laid in bed staring at the ceiling. Just so upset about the Yankees because I f***ing love the Yankees, and I love the teams that I love. They're just in me, and it's the DNA. It's a part of me, even when I don't want it to be. I hated how upset I was. I was having tons of anxiety about how, like, am I even going to be able to, like, drive to the airport without falling asleep? And, like, And that's the Jets too. And seeing the Jets today and seeing those fans like reminded me that like, son of a bitch, I love them too. It's like it is like that marriage where yes, it's a pretty unhealthy marriage, but you can't live without each other because you do love them. So yeah, I guess I'm letting the Jets move back into the apartment, Mark. They're back into the apartment, and I did, and hopefully things moving forward can be somewhat in a better place. But at the same time, a good win for the Jets, bad loss for the Texans, and we'll see what comes next for both these teams.
Yeah, I think when you like.
I asked my dad if he wanted to send in anything.
Like even vaguely try to speak, and Justin just jumps in with a massive soundbite. Like that's how this show works.
And Mark, I asked my dad if he wanted to send something in, and my dad, we watched that Yankee game together last night, and he's like, you know what, Danny, I'm just gonna enjoy the win. I was like, you know what, I get you, Dad. All right, go ahead, Mark.
No, that makes sense. Like when you have a guy friend, like, and they do have a relationship, and there's a couple rules that I've always had. It's like when they have a bit of a breakup with said girl, or probably not wife, but back in the day, girl or girlfriend, like you don't use that as a window to go, because you kind of like don't like most of your guy friends, girlfriends half the time. It's like they're vaguely annoying. They're pulling your guy friend away from you. He's changing.
That's a little. Sometimes it can
not
happen.
Always, not always.
And it happens the other way too. I don't
mean an adult life with wives, because that's different. You can really love them, but I mean when, like, I'm thinking back in high school and stuff where it's like you see your friend change and all this stuff. But my code was always like never, when they're on a bit of a time off, use that as license to go off on said person that they're on time. Like don't go there.
That will just come back on you. Yeah,
they're going to come back to that person. So that's sort of you and the Jets, and like look, I totally get it. I get it with my team too, and so I completely accept you coming back to the fold. And this was a story of two halves. You have Aaron Rodgers, who is throwing for 32 yards in the first half, and that's the lowest he's had, I think, ever. If it was 10 attempts or less, like that's the least yardage he's ever thrown in a half of a football game, and it looked lost. You're playing a compromised Texans team. I don't know if it's a referendum on the Texans. I know we got a text from Justin saying that he thought the Texans were fake good, and I get where you're coming from, Justin.
They got problems, Sess, dog. I know Justin's got his AFC South thing going on, but like they got problems.
They do, and so their problems are tangible because I think they've got offensive line issues, and last year they were able to mask that in a pretty creative way, and that's not happening this time around. 8 sacks tonight. I think it was 11 quarterback hits. Stroud is a different quarterback when he's exposed that way and under that duress. You're missing your 2 top receivers. The Jets made big plays, but I only say it's not a referendum on the Texans in that, like, if those things were not happening, if they were healthy, they had their people, like, they're a different team. But they're not fake good. I disagree with that. I think they are learning to win and learning to grow as a team. They came out of nowhere. They were a nothing team literally like 18 months ago, and here they are. But the Jets tonight, I don't know what it means, because it's like, did you save your season? Where do we go from here?
Oh, we got to go. Yeah, I think we're aligned on this. It's a hard hold on the Jets. They got Arizona next week on the road.
That's an interesting game right there.
Yeah, anybody who thinks that, and I keep hearing this. That the Jets schedule is so soft. It's like, I don't know what version of the Cardinals shows up at home next week. They could blow the doors off the Jets if they're having one of their days. So we'll see. Go beat the Cardinals on the road, and then they're 4-6, and then it starts to get a little interesting. Because I think everyone, myself included, except for Connor and I guess Justin, wrote off the Jets after the Patriots loss. But in your mind, you kind of were expecting them to beat the Patriots and then lose to the Texans, but they got beat by the Patriots and then defeated the Texans. So they kind of end up where everybody thought they might end up after 9 weeks at 3-6. So they still have a lot of work to do, but it's not like the rest of the AFC is gangbusters. Like there's absolutely a path. Back to the Texans though for a second. Like, I think they have major problems. I mean, I wouldn't say, like, I think they are kind of fake good right now, which doesn't mean that I'm writing them off, but their 6-3 record, I think, is misleading. And I said it last week. I thought that they were a little bit of a house of cards. It didn't feel quite right where they were. And then you see a game like this where some of these numbers, Jeremy Branham on Twitter, the top 3 pressure rates in Stroud's career have been in the last 3 games. Let's see. I'm just going to read these off, and I apologize, Mark, if you said one of them already. C.J. Stroud was pressured on 46.7% of his dropbacks in Week 9, the 3rd highest pressure rate Stroud has faced in a game. Will McDonald, 9 pressures. Hassan Reddick, welcome to the NFL. Welcome back, Hassan Reddick. 8 pressures. Quinnen Williams, who's been awesome the last 2 weeks, 7 pressures. The first time 3 different defenders recorded 7+ pressures in the same game this season. Stroud scrambled on 31.1% of his dropbacks, the 3rd highest rate in a game in his career. He also added 60 yards on 7 scramble runs. That's the most scramble runs in his career. So, yeah, he has that element to his game, but, like, it is a barn door right up the middle with this guy right now. And the worst part of it is, Mark, yes, you might get Nico Collins back next week. Obviously, Stephon Diggs is not coming back. Tank Dell is a really good player. It's not like he doesn't have anybody to throw to. Dell showed it with a big game today, well over 100 yards. They're going to get him hurt. They're going to get Stroud hurt. And if you continue, and there were a couple close calls in this game, if they get this guy hurt, the season's over. And I saw it happen with my own team in Week 1 after 4 plays last year. If your offensive line does not figure something out quickly, you will see your season end in a heartbeat. So that is the question I have. Like, they are still in very good position in their division, but if this offensive line is not salvageable, and we have the trade deadline coming up, this team, it's only a matter of time before Stroud is on the IR or worse.
Yeah, and like they've got Sunday Night Football against the Lions next, and then the Cowboys on Monday Night Football the week after. So this is all going to happen before a national audience. I like what you said about the trade deadline. I wonder if they are they should be buyers for anything, because you could get another wide receiver. You certainly could look around for line help, because you're right. I think, first of all, nothing changes about how I feel about C.J. Stroud, the player. It's just that
I'm with you on that.
Right.
I think the circumstances around him are pretty rough right now.
Right. The world he's in right now is like, I don't care who it is, because we've seen with Aaron Rodgers, if suddenly you're under complete and constant duress, everything changes for you as a quarterback. So he's just playing through a roster that's compromised on offense right now. I do believe in the team. I picked them for the Super Bowl. Now that's a little rich. It looks a little rich right now, but we're going to find out.
You're pot committed too. In fairness, you're pot committed. But you're nervous a little bit nervous right now.
I think it's fair to say that, because I think, like, I was expecting them to make a certain leap that a team, like, kind of like the 91 Cowboys to the 92 Cowboys, where you go from being a saucy team with very young, promising skill position players and a good defensive and offensive line, and then the next year you win 3 more games. It doesn't look like that. I think this is a big loss. Like, this is I don't know what their position was coming in to face the Jets, but the Jets to have the first half that they did, and then I think for them to have Garrett Wilson, who is just an incredible player. It's like, don't lose these players, Jets. Don't let these players' careers float away. Find a way to build around this. But Devontae Adams made a big difference. You could kind of see it with the Jets tonight in the second half. That's what I thought was a big story. It was like, you could see what the Jets are trying to do. I don't think the coaching switch is a downgrade at all. Like, there was literally nothing that changed on that front tonight. Can you keep this going? Can you mount wins and stack wins? I don't trust them to do anything, but it's just like, they do have a softer schedule than other teams. Like, can you creep back into this? Do we care? Does it matter?
I like the way you put that. You could see it. And you could literally see it during the post-game interview that we played at the top of the show. Kaylee Hartung, she's standing in the middle, and it's Devontae Adams, a future Hall of Famer, and Garrett Wilson, one of the most physically gifted young wide receivers in the league. And it's like, yeah, of course they should have games like this. And they finally had one. It took 3 games since Devontae Adams got here. Garrett Wilson, the Jets have had so many issues this year, from poor discipline with penalties to offensive line issues to injury issues to defensive shortcomings to obviously coaching issues to ownership making decisions that hurt the overall picture. But Garrett Wilson was part of the issue also earlier in the season, and he had that low point a couple weeks ago where on Sunday Night Football against the Steelers when he had that ball slap off his chest, leading to the interception that more or less buried the Jets in that game in Pittsburgh. And that was kind of like the low point, and he owned it after the game. He said, I'm not playing well enough. And Jets fans that watched his first couple of years, they knew this is a very special guy. And Troy Aikman, I'll never forget the Rodgers Achilles game, week 1 last year, when he made that other tremendous catch against the Bills in that unlikely Jets win after Rodgers was done for the year after 4 plays. And Aikman made some type of really, it could be seen as a hyperbolic comment, but coming from Aikman, it resonated with me. It's like, I think this guy could be the best wide receiver in football. And he has that type of ability, the way that he moves, his catching ability, his athleticism, it's off the charts. And that touchdown catch, Jeff Ulbrich after the game said, it rivals the Odell catch. It was amazing. To the ability to kind of have your body, in the back, and by the way, a hell of a throw by Rodgers too, to be completely spread with a jump man Jordan style to grab the ball and then to have the body control to get that shin down. That just was a snapshot into how special he can be. So I don't know what comes next for the Jets in the future, but yes, I agree with you. He's like one of the guys you absolutely, if you're tearing it down to the studs, like he's one of the studs that you keep around. And then to see Devontae Adams make some plays in this game, including the game icing touchdown, like kind of takes me to Rodgers, who I just want to say this, Mark, like Aaron Rodgers is a divisive figure, and I've had a lot of issues with Rodgers as well before he came to the Jets and when he's been a Jet. But I think some of the criticism he's gotten this year at times has been unfair, because I think people have looked to pile on him because he's kind of a guy that you kind of want to stick it to in some ways, and that's not unearned. But I think Rodgers has been pretty good this year. I've been saying this all year, and I know it was not a good first half, but the plays that he was making in the second half, I think he's firmly in that like back end of the top 12 quarterbacks in the league right now. Which might not be good enough for his surrounding talent, but he has certainly not been the problem. And he was playing like the old Aaron Rodgers tonight.
Yeah, I thought so too. If you were to list the Jets' issues, like 1 through 5 bullet points, it's not Aaron Rodgers. And
it's not the QB. When's the last time you could say that about the Jets, that the QB wasn't one of the top 5 issues? Absolutely,
because typically it would be, it would be glowing as the number 1 issue, and that's not the case. I do wonder, because I don't love, like, I know I pinpointed like the Hassan Reddick tweet that aimed at Bill Belichick the other day. It's like, just stop doing that. But I do wonder, because like in their plans, they wanted to have Hassan Reddick there from week 1, obviously, to impact like what their defense could do. And I thought he made a big difference tonight. And I wonder if that's kind of this ingredient that's been missing. I mean, what the defense did tonight is a big part of this too, because yes, it's the wide receivers, and yes, it's Aaron Rodgers, but you held C.J. Stroud to 11 of 30 passing. Wow. Like that's not easy to do, and I thought that was one of his worst games. He also had, I think, about 84 yards against the Packers, but Stroud's been struggling here and there, 86 yards, but the Jets tonight like looked like a complete version of what we're looking for in the second half. And I don't know. I just wonder if it's fool's gold. But they do have, the problem is that the Jets have good players on both sides of the ball, and it's like, go play like it. And we saw it tonight. So what does it mean? What does it mean going forward?
See. At Arizona, home Colts, home Seahawks.
If you get bit by those Cardinals, and I know that I'm a little bit of a, like, if the Cardinals come and do what they can do to you in a bad scenario, like, then it's goodbye for the Jets.
I don't like that matchup. I don't like that matchup for the Jets at all. No. In fact, I think the Jets defense, I think the pass rush is starting to show, especially now that they have Reddick there, that can get back to being, a real hallmark of what they can do, and that will help the back end of the defense as well. But I think Kyler Murray, you saw with Drake May last week. I mean, a mobile quarterback, if the Jets aren't playing with discipline, Murray's going to eat them alive. So it's a hold on the Jets. And that's a step up from where I was, obviously in my feelings, living separately in my apartment, 2 towns over. Like I was out Connor made some comments. I'm back because I'm in love. Like, love is love. But I also, doesn't mean I believe. Like, it's like you're married to someone that you don't really believe in their potential, but you love them. Like, when I called the Jets after this game,
That's
Mark,
not a great situation.
It wasn't yeah, exactly. I didn't say it was a healthy relationship. It wasn't like I called them back and I was lovey-dovey. It was one of those things like, all right, you big idiot, come home.
Yeah, it's good. Like, you know, it's
We were on a break.
it's nighttime, and like you open the door and you kind of hug quietly and
Right.
you go to sleep. But
That's
we're
what it
not
is.
going to really discuss in a healthy way, discuss the issues. We're just going to accept each other.
This isn't
back
the
in.
love story of the ages, but it is love, and that's sports, and these last two nights like it reminded me again. Like, I hate how much I love sports. Like, I wish I was like 98% of the population, that it didn't like shake me to the core what happened to the Yankees last night, and why when the Jets do what the Jets do, how much it hurts me profoundly that they can't seem to get out of their own way. But it's also why we do what we do, and like why we have this great life. So anyway, you take the victories where you can get them. And as far
I
as
do think I'll say one thing. I thought
Yes.
our producer learned a lesson tonight when his move was to verbally dig into the Yankees loss and, you know, like try to find 4 or 5 things about it that illuminated the defeat for him. It's like, no, Justin, see, because I know, you know, I even was texting with Dan when he was flying back to the West Coast. It was like, I'll discuss literally anything on the planet other than the Yankees.
Yeah,
loss.
like when
If
Dan's
you don't
ready.
say anything positive
Yeah.
or negative. You say nothing.
let
I wasn't
him
trying
do
to
it.
like dig in. I was just like trying to express some frustrations, you know, echoing some feel empathy
you were.
for what
That's-
you're going through.
yeah.
Can I
But
say
even
I didn't
that-
think that you were looking to get a dig in or anything? I think maybe it was just a slight breach of fan etiquette. It was like when there's a loss at that level, you let the person bring
stay
the
away.
loss up.
Yeah.
You know,
and like
then-
I went through it last year with the Mavs losing to the Celtics in the finals, so like there is.
Yeah,
And I
were
still
we
haven't
texting
brought
you?
that up.
Were we texting you the next
we still
day
haven't
after
brought
that?
it. You know, Mark and I have been wanting to talk to you about that for months, and we still haven't brought it up because we didn't
Right.
know if you were ready yet.
Right.
That's okay. Lesson learned, like Mark said. Yeah.
You know, football is not the only sport on the calendar right now. The NBA season is in full swing, too. Go Knicks. And Underdog has tons of fun ways to get in on the action with nightly NBA pick'em slates, discounts, and promos aplenty. And you can even play against other users with daily tournaments and private drafts, where Underdog is giving out over $100,000 every single day. Just download the Underdog app, sign up with the code HTC, that's us, and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash for our U.S. audience only. All right. Anything else before we go, Mark?
Malachi Corley, you didn't talk about him at all.
yeah.
What a bonehead.
That
Yeah,
was a
can I
bit of a
just
mess.
say-
Yeah.
What is up with that? I think Herb Street, who I'm not like the biggest fan of, but I don't think he's, you know.
He's solid.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He made a great point, which is like, this happens like once a year almost, right? Like, why do these guys have such a rush to drop the ball? Like, it doesn't look cooler to drop the ball like right past when you get past the goal line. And that was obviously like at that point, yeah, I was still living separately from the Jets, and so it was like a detachment. I didn't go nuts about it. But at the same time, I was like, holy shit, this team is outrageous. And to those Jets fans, that really it did kind of hit me a little bit, seeing how invested they were in the game for this kind of loser team. But they were out for blood, man. Those Jets fans, when the Jets had that first 3 and out, they're booing the Jets out of the building.
Well, they were screaming, "Sell the team."
Yeah, like that's where we're at. So, and it could still be there, but for one night at least. But Malachi Corley, I feel for the guy because he's a rookie, and that was his first carry, I believe, in his career. After the game, Ulbrich said, definitely frustrated and angry, but what an amazing opportunity for this kid to grow and learn from. Yeah, he will. Because that is, I mean, how heartbreaking that must have been, but how dumb.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah, it's a
we
mix
saw
of
the
both.
dumbest play ever was Tyreek Stevenson on the Hail Maryland, but the goal line drop of the football is right there. So we saw like a super dumb play. We saw a super special play with Garrett Wilson. We saw a lot of penalties and imperfect play and bad offensive line play, and ultimately we saw a Jets win, which I wasn't expecting. So I'll take
The
it.
earth is a very special place. It will take from you. It will give to you. And if you're New York based, and depending on how you're New York based, it did a little bit of both over the last couple of days.
Well said, Mark. Well said. All right. Spinning forward, tomorrow morning, Friday, when you wake up, if you are a member of patreon.com/heedthecall, you will have the draft for week 9, a really high-powered draft. And I really take it to the voters. I'll leave it there. A little bit of a tease for some of their malfeasance.
Well, they're an annoying group.
A week earlier. It's like, guys, you're Malachi Corleying this.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
They're Corleying it, like big time. Malachi-ing it.
Also, speaking of the Patreon, where you can get exclusive HTC content that's off the beaten path, a new episode of the incredible, mysterious Rolling Thunder with Marc Sessler and Jason Zumwalt. What's this week's episode about? For the people that haven't signed up, that, like, if you like Sessdog, and Sessdog, who's a little bit of a subversive, off the beaten path character, and then Zumwalt, who's kind of a kissing cousin in that way, you put the two of these Gen Xers together, and you get something that you're not expecting. And I say that in the most positive way. What is it about this week?
So Jason and I, we dig into personal supernatural experiences that we've had. We go back and forth with a couple stories. And then we open it up for future down the road for the listeners and Patreon to be part of that. I would say this, because I think, the minute that you and I started doing shows together, I kind of just knew, like, I could talk with Dan for like a long time and we'd have a great time. And we have. And like, I feel that way about Jason. I think we just kind of like find a way to like be really kind of, it's just kind of like hanging out at a campfire with your friend. And so I hope that's how people feel listening to it. And yeah, you get in that Patreon. It's very inexpensive. It's not expensive. That's what they say. It's not expensive. It's very inexpensive.
Everybody says it's the cheapest Patreon.
It really is. Like, I mean, I don't know what else you're spending your money on, but like, this is a robust, like 90-minute episode, and we do it once a month. And you guys have your, we really went to town. So you guys have you got your throwback. There's a lot happening here. There's a lot happening on the Patreon. If you're not in it, I don't know what to tell you, really. I don't know what to say.
I would say if you've been listening to our show a long time, you got to give us a month on the Patreon just to see the content.
Sure.
Between Throwback Podcast, Rolling Thunder, the draft, another edition of the Marc Sessler newsletter, I Dream in Red right around the corner. It's hashtag content. That's it.
It really is. Like you can choose to live a different life. That's up to you. Or you live this life.
Yeah, you could live a better life or a lesser life. And that's it. All right. Like, I don't even like, what kind of annoys me? I have to be honest. Do I need Justin wearing his Texas Rangers hoodie tonight of all nights? Like, to remind me of the Rangers, who were the defending world champions before yesterday evening's events.
We are working
through a little bit of a
we're working
dig,
through a couple issues with Justin. The fact that he did, we Via are one of our they contribute to our show, and he did 2 of those massive gummies about an hour and a half before the Jets game ended, and we can tell.
Like, fun fact, he's wearing the Rangers hoodie and nothing else. Nude from the waist down right now.
Yeah, which is no treat for Justin is on acid right now.
All right, that's enough. Thank you to everybody. Until next time, heed the call.